Hello. It's been a tough week for many Western Pennsylvanians who witnessed firsthand the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Butler and Butler County leaders join us to share their perspectives and efforts to heal the community. Also, gun homicides are taking a toll on Pennsylvania's Black community. We'll talk to anti-violence advocates about the newly released data and hear ways to solve the problem. Plus, the gathering of untold stories of African Americans in Pennsylvania. We'll tell you how you can get involved. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. An assassination attempt on a candidate for president right here in Western Pennsylvania, more specifically in Butler County. As the investigation continues, the reality of what happened is sinking in for the residents of the community. And many community members are working on how to move forward, heal, and unite. Joining me now is Commissioner Leslie Oshie. She is the chairman of the Board of Commissioners in Butler County, and also Mayor Bob Dandoy, the mayor of Butler. Welcome both of you to Intersections.
Thank you.
Glad
to be
here. So we've talked a little bit about what happened, and Commissioner Oshie, you were there. Kind of tell me or walk us through a little bit of what it was like being there and how you're kind of moving forward and healing.
Well, first of all, sitting there that day, we had a vantage point because we were actually my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Dyer, and my family, and some friends of ours were in the stands behind him, and so we had a point where we could see out over the entire ground. People were having a good time, really. I mean, everyone was doing what they were doing, and most importantly, we were seeing the heat. The heat was affecting people, and we thought that was going to be our biggest problem of the day. And our first responders were all out there doing their jobs, and out of 250 heat related incidents, we had only 6 transports to the hospital because they were all, so we were watching all of that happen, and then the shots happened, after the president hit the stage, and everyone kind of hunkered down, and the trauma of that particular moment, because you really don't know what's going to happen next, is a lot to take and a lot to take in. But I've tried to focus, and we're trying to focus, and I was trying to help my son and his girlfriend focus on the fact that, what you saw leading up to that, was the good people of the community just gathering in a place that's always been known to them, because this is my backyard. Yeah. I live in Meridian, it's my backyard, as the farm show, and we love the farm show. It doesn't matter who we are, we all love the farm show, and so we're trying to focus on the positives that usually happen in that space, as well as what we witnessed and the heroic actions of all of the people who the helpers were helping, and they had been helping all day.
Yeah. Mayor, you said you were not there.
I was not there.
But what happened when you even heard what happened? What did you do at that time?
I was with dinner with family, and one of my city councilmen had texted me and said, "Did you see the news?" And no. Flipped open my phone, and right away the news was coming through about the shooting, and I said to my family, there were shots fired at the farm show. What? No, and I said, yeah. And so we were following a little bit of it, and then the reality started to sink in when I received a call from my daughter. Someone had contacted her. It was the New York Times. They wanted a statement from me. I said, why would they want a statement from me? And I did return the call, and then very quickly figured out that I was going to somehow have a role to play here, and it really became very somber, that you knew, okay, we've got to get serious about this, and this is not, we were glad, of course, to hear that the president was all right, and of course we were really worried at that point. It hadn't been confirmed that there had been one fatality, so that really sent it home, because that was one of ours, you know,
Yeah.
and so.
So the thing about it is, you know, Butler County and Butler, the city, is getting a lot of attention. It's like the center of the universe at this point. How does the community come together and heal from this?
So, you know, right out of the gate, you know, we have to remember that this is a snapshot in time, but we have always been, this has always been a county that has come together in any kind of crisis, and we are very resilient. This is a resilient group. We believe in recovery. We've worked so hard on drug and alcohol recovery, and we're working through the EMS crisis. And we do it together. It's collaboration, always collaboration. So the first thing we were concerned about is mental health and how are we handling them, you know, those who experience that trauma. And there will be next week, next Thursday, a community critical incident sort of stress debriefing for community members. Normally you do that for first responders, but this is a special opportunity for community to come together and be able to share and try to understand what's happening and the grief. And you see, I mean, we, again, community of lots of churchgoers, so we see lots of prayer services and lots of things like that happening to that end. You know, those are the things as leaders we can support. But I think we have to focus on and remember, you know, what defines us as a county and what will continue to define us as a county going forward. And that has been, I think, us as leaders together, regardless of our political affiliation.
Right.
That's how we move forward.
Yeah. And the other thing that we wanted to clarify is, you know, Butler is getting a lot of attention, but this is not actually happening. It didn't happen in the Butler community.
City.
Within the city.
Well, use your words. It
Yes.
did not happen within the city limits.
Right,
Okay?
yes.
But it did happen in the Butler community.
Yeah.
I think we
Correct.
all identify that way. We are from Butler, and so that was, you know, it was part of us. It impacted everyone, whichever way it did impact you.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably some of my earliest thoughts about this is we have enjoyed over the last several years some very positive energy and momentum in our county. And there's a lot of great things that are happening, a lot of great things on the horizon. And immediately I started thinking about the impact on that energy, because now the negative energy was going to come in. We knew that, you know, with communities like this, when these things happen, there's a stigma. And I didn't want that. I don't want that.
Right.
And, you know, so that worried me. Will we be able to regain this positive energy that we have? How much will this impact it? What's the work that we're going to have to do? Turn that around and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, real quickly, Butler, the city, has gotten a lot of blowback. Talk about a little bit very quickly about what you guys have experienced, you know, calls to the city and how your staff is handling that.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting situation because, you know, in essence, Butler is a small town. You know, it's 13,000 people, and it's small. We don't have the staff and the level of knowledge and experience to handle something like this. So at first I was personally handling things, you know, fielding media calls and requests and calls from people all over the United States, friends, whatever, trying to find out what happened. And we were doing it pretty well. But then came the hate. And it's come from all different directions. You know, people who, you know, the idea that we've failed, we didn't protect the president, you know, things like this. People, you know, coming at me with every crazed, you know, conspiracy theory that's out there. And it's really impacted, I think, a lot of the staff. They're worried. And again, we don't have that level of experience with this kind of thing. So everybody's a little bit worried that, you know, take a deep breath.
Right.
You know, everything's going to be okay, and we know it's going to be okay. We know it's going to be okay in our community, that's for sure.
We do.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you both coming and sharing and talking with us about this, and obviously wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll be good.
We'll be good.
We got this.
We'll be good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, new data shows nearly 90% of Black homicide cases involve guns. Anti-violence advocates join us next. You're watching Intersections. Well, the numbers aren't good. According to the CDC, in 2022, the homicide rate for Black victims was 29.0 compared to a national rate of 7.7 and 4.2 for white victims. And of the Black victims who died, a gun was used in 87.4% of the cases. In addition, Pennsylvania is among the top 10 states for these cases, ranking number 9. Here to discuss how this issue is being addressed are Tim Stevens, the president of the Black Political Empowerment Project and the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence, Josh Fleetman with Ceasefire PA, and Terry Minor Spencer, founder and president of the West End Power. Welcome all of you to Intersections. So we hear these numbers, and when you're talking almost 90%, that is a lot, right? Tim, tell us a little bit about, the Coalition Against Violence. This was kind of the start of the Coalition Against Violence, was to try to bring these numbers down.
Yeah, we started in the 90s, and we had 50 plus sessions in 13 months to create this document. And I'm asking people to go to the document because we're asking people to use it. Mm-hmm. There's 833 strategies. Valerie Dixon, my friend who died recently, she counted them. Mm. But we have a section on page 57. Go to www.coalitionagainstviolence.net. We have 38 sections impacting violence, and there's a whole section. We work with this gentleman all the time with Ceasefire on gun violence reduction, and such as if you have guns in the house, make sure they're put away, separate the weapon from the guns or the bullets. If you have children in the house, is particularly important. We have things where we're asking our politicians, where do these guns come from? Black people, for instance, we don't manufacture guns. My understanding is there's no black manufacturer in the country manufacturing guns, yet we're getting these guns. So something is not working to prevent what we do in our families. We have a whole section on the role of the families in our document, Coalition Against Violence, Strategies for Change, Building More Peaceful Communities. We as family members, as parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, we need to create an atmosphere in our families that gun violence is not the way. When I grew up 500 years ago in the Hill District, we may have had fights, but we lived to see the next day. Yeah. Unfortunately, today, too many of our young people are going first to the guns, killing people. Yeah. Their lives are impacted for the rest of their lives. Their family members are impacted for years to come because their child, their grandchild, their nephew, whatever, is in jail. Yeah. And those who are left behind are emotionally impacted forever.
Josh, jump in on this number, and if this number is surprising.
It is shocking, but it's not surprising. It is in keeping with the data that we've known at Ceasefire PA, which is that Black Pennsylvanians are 21 times more likely to die by gun violence than white Pennsylvanians. And, Tim asked where the guns are coming from. And the thing is, we know a lot of the time where guns are coming from. These are illegal guns being intentionally funneled into Black communities, straw purchased and trafficked. And while, of course, entities like the family, like community organizations, faith organizations, they're all really, really critical. We also need to hold, as Tim talked about, our lawmakers accountable for putting in place systemic safeguards against this flow of illegal guns. And we know how to do this, things like requiring lost and stolen guns to be reported, doing more inspections of gun dealers where we can see a lot of illegal guns are coming from particular gun dealers, things like requiring gun dealers to report their records of sale to the state police through a digital system instead of paper. So there's all these laws that we could put in place in Harrisburg tomorrow that would address the major cause of this horrible number, which is illegal guns being allowed to flow into our communities that are decimating black communities and black families.
Terry, a little bit about West End Power. How are some of the activities that your group does helping to make a difference?
So yeah, thank you for that question. So West End Power, we come at the back end of the gun violence. We help the families with funeral, monies, and we up to $6,500. A lot of times we are finding that, as Mr. Stevens said, the youth and so they don't have insurance, and so that's the way that we come in and try to help the family. And then as I work with, my job is to make sure that we work with the law enforcement, making sure that the families of victims are safe, they feel safe, there's no retaliation. And so just to piggyback off of what my colleagues both said is that it has to be another way of legislation to protect our community. For us, for Pennsylvania to be the 9th highest in black suicide, that's staggering in itself.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that's how West End Power gets involved.
Well, I'm glad you all were able to come and talk about this. It's obviously an ongoing conversation, so we will definitely have you all back to continue this. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, coming up, telling the story of African American life in Pennsylvania, you're watching Intersections. Well, do you have a story to tell about growing up black in Pennsylvania or how your family ended up in Western PA? If so, the PA Humanities Council wants to hear your story. It's part of a project underway right now called Voices of History. And here with us to explain more is Dr. Irvin Dyer, a member of the Board of Directors for the August Wilson House. Welcome to Intersections.
Hello.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about this project. And the PA Humanities Council kind of is partnering with the August Wilson House on this, right?
That's right. PA Humanities Council is 50 years old, and they wanted some way to celebrate that. And so they created this oral history project, Voices of History. And because August Wilson House is already involved in telling the legacy of Mr. Wilson, he was a tremendous storyteller. We have our own storytelling project. They partnered with us to try to get the news out in the community that oral history is really a special event, a way to capture family stories, family's history, the larger American story. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I saw on their website that it kind of got birthed here, right? In Pittsburgh, there was an event happening with author Isabel Wilkerson.
Yes.
And it just kind of bubbled up from there. Is that right?
So Ms. Wilkerson kicked it off officially. There was an initial pilot project in Chester, Pennsylvania. But Ms. Wilkerson came to town and talked about the value of sharing your family's history because of her own tremendous work with narrative storytelling and sharing stories. And so she came here and told us why this was important to do, and so it kind of launched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there certain kinds of stories that you're looking for?
So we believe that every story is important, right? And every story matters. But for this particular project, what we like to say is ordinary stories matter, right? You don't have to be the first in your family. We're not looking for the first teacher, the first banker. Those stories are important. But the memories you have of your grandmother in her kitchen, the memories you have of where your father worked, right? The memories you have your teacher and what that experience was like are important stories to tell because they all help us understand America and the space that we grow up in.
Yeah, and we're showing a few of the pictures from the first story circle, is what you call it, that was held. What were some of the stories that you heard at that first one?
Yeah, so we got a circle together, a storytelling circle. We heard about the first black female cop in the city of Pittsburgh who remembers her badge and the memories of wearing that badge, what that meant for her. We heard from a young woman who had a 1962 black business directory and the pride that she felt being part of a community that had so much enterprise and creativity. And so we heard from a young woman who had like a copy of a deed from her parents' first home. And so just really rich memories connected to objects and memory and storytelling that the participants brought to the storytelling circle. It was really quite amazing.
Yeah, and those circles are recorded, videotaped.
Yeah, the circles are recorded. We get a larger group of people into the circles, and the PA Humanities Council, what they are going to do is then listen closely to those stories and ask certain individuals to come back to explore their stories more fully. And those stories will be taped, and then they will be archived and open to the public.
Yeah, and then there's two more sessions that are available where people can attend, but I know they have to send an email to someone. But what are the dates for those other two stories?
Yes.
And we have a graphic
So
to show that too.
so we have a story circle coming up at the Everyday Cafe in Homewood. That is July the 23rd, and then we have an event at Kelly Strayhorn Theater the 26th of July.
Yes, I have 6 o'clock for the Kelly Strayhorn and 6:30 for Everyday Cafe.
That is correct.
And then you want people to email if they are going to attend. What is that email address?
Yes, so they can reach out to Sarah Gethers, SarahGethers @gmail.com. So Sarah Gethers @gmail.com.
And she'll reach back out to
And
those.
she'll reach out and confirm, because the story circles, we have about 14 to 19 people in the circle, so we need to control the people who are coming in. So they reach out to her and she will confirm their attendance, and so we can control it just a little bit better.
All right, so the people in Pittsburgh will be covered, and then there's also Erie and some other areas.
Yeah, so PA Humanities Council is reaching out to Erie, Scranton, they've been in Chester, PA, York, and then Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this, and I look forward to seeing that final result.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And I'll have my last word when we come back. Unity is a word we've heard several times recently. It's easy to say, but can be hard to achieve. Unity involves give and take, listening, even agreeing to disagree sometimes on the issues. But it would be great if we could agree by unanimous consent that violence should not be the answer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.